What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Mission Z Empowering Change podcast. Brought to you by our sponsors, Long Island Prevention and Resilience Enrichment Program for drug abuse prevention and mental health awareness. Check out all of our programs and find out how our 3 pillars of action will help the students, parents, and professionals in your community face down the ongoing drug overdose and mental health crisis ravaging our communities by going to www.longislandprep.org and our Prep Academy for educator professional development and parent workshops. Our new digital courses delve into the ongoing issues our kids face today, including mental health awareness and drug abuse prevention strategies for teachers in the classroom and parents at home. Teachers can earn credits, or parents can simply take a course to learn how to tackle these issues head-on and help their kids along the way. Learn more by going to www.theprepacademy.org today. And Pioneer Sports, who want you to stop doing it yourself. They help schools, camps, and municipalities start, run, and grow a successful sports program. You can check them out at playpioneersports.com. I'm Paul Vecchione. It's great to be here with you as we bring our conversation to you and discuss the issues that Generation Z, our children, are facing today. The Mission Z podcast is here to bring people out there who are dedicated to making a difference here with us to talk about what they're doing and how their work is impacting our world, how they're making a difference to help others around them, and of course, how a call to action can empower change. And that's what we're here to do today. Our podcast is brought to you by DDS for Vets, who is bridging the gap that veterans face with services that they are entitled to. Just go to www.ddsforvets.org for more information. And I'm so psyched to introduce today's guest, who really needs no introduction at all. He is a staple in the Major League Baseball world, especially here in New York. Former New York Met and New York Yankee, 2-time World Series champion among his many awards as a starting pitcher for both clubs in the 80s and 90s. His number is going to be retired by the Mets this coming April 14th. We'll get into all that and a lot more with our guest today. Here to give us a few minutes is Doc Gooden. And Doc, it's great to see you, my friend. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. Things are wonderful. Couldn't be any better.
I'm really excited to have you on today. It's such a pleasure to talk to you. So listen, we're in early March here, and it's hard to believe it's been almost 40 years to the day, right, that you broke into the major leagues in 1984 when you burst onto the scene with the Mets. So, you were Rookie of the Year that season. You quickly established yourself as one of the league's best. So, you'd go on to win the Cy Young in 85 and, of course, the 86 championship season with the Mets. So as you look back on 40 years, I'm sure some of it's a blur, right? But can you believe it's been that long?
Oh, man, it goes fast. It's like the older you get, the faster it goes, and the clock just keeps ticking. Especially now having 10 grandkids and 3 great-grandkids. I'll be 60 this year. When I look back at it, I get to share those moments with my grandkids, and a couple of my grandsons is playing baseball down in Tampa. We talk about it a lot, but you're right. It goes so fast. I can't believe I've been retired for 24 years. 24 years I've been retired. I've been retired more years than I played. Played 16, retired 24. So, yeah. Right. I was very blessed to have the career I had, and do a lot of things, reminisce a little bit with this year, with my number being retired. I look at that as a celebration. And by playing Major League Baseball, I was able to do a lot of things with my family and get my family a lot of things I wouldn't have been able to do without the help of baseball. So I lived a good life.
Oh, yeah. Now, so you said you're a grandfather. So are you talking a lot of baseball with your grandkids? Be honest now.
Oh, yes. Especially I have 2 grandsons that play. And the one that 11-year-old reminds me a lot of myself. He wants to practice before his games, have his game, then he wants to practice after his games. And he sleep with his glove in his bat. I used to do the same exact things without telling him that. So I see a lot of the students there. So I told him, just keep up the good work, man. Keep going hard, keep the passion. You never know. I'll say the worst thing can happen. You develop friendships that last a lifetime. I still have friends that I play Little League with, and that's the greatest thing about sports.
That's awesome. What a thrill. That has to be some kind of thrill to bring all of your experience, right, and all of your knowledge. And, to be able to teach the next generation, that is really awesome.
Yes, sir. That's what it's all about. with my kids, and even like living in Long Island, I do a lot of camps and clinics with the kids, help out, just giving back. And what I like to do, especially speaking to schools, I talk about baseball to get their attention, and I switch it to life issues. You know, I've had a lot of ups and downs off the field, struggling with addiction, struggling with mental health, and I talk sports to get their attention, and I switch a little bit, try to give them both ends. It's basically turning my message into messages, but I enjoy doing it. I love talking about it. Where at one time I was ashamed to talk about it because I still have guilt and shame, and I still had a reservation that I haven't really given into the addiction yet, or I still was in denial. Now I'm not living that life anymore. It's easy to talk about.
Absolutely. And Doc, we'll get into some of that too, but let's go back to 1982. You're finally, coming up through the big leagues. You get the call in 1984 from, you're a young kid from Tampa, Florida, not even 20 years old, right? And you quickly become one of the game's best pitchers. You kind of read a lot about the psychology of professional sports and, of course, the physical aspect, right, of being a world-class athlete. But, the pressures, the mental battles for you at 19 years old, I mean, are you overwhelmed by what you're seeing in the big leagues at that age? Or is just, your stuff is so dominant that it doesn't even matter? Take us through those times.
It was like living a dream. It was like my dad's dream that turned into my dream. Dad told me to give up baseball at a very, very young age, as well as my nephew, Gary Sheffield. We grew up in the same house. He's my sister's son. She had him at a young age. And I remember, I was around the age of 7 or 8. My dad would watch the games on Saturdays. We'll listen to the Braves games on the radio because growing up in Tampa, we always get the game of the week on Saturdays with Joe Gaggiola, and then we get all the Braves games on the radio. It's not like the networks now. You got SNY, you got the Yes Network, you got MLB Network, you got ESPN. We have all that back then. So watch the games, and my dad would start quizzes. And one day he asked me, I like baseball. I said, I love baseball. He goes, do you want to go to TV time one day? I said, oh, that's my dream. I don't remember the conversation, but my mom just told me what I had with him. I said, yeah, one day I'm going to be on TV plan. I said, well, when I come home from work every day, I'm going to take you out to the field. We're going to start working on drills and doing stuff. And every day he come home from school, when I come home from school, he gets home from work, we'll go to the ball field, no glove, no bat, no ball. So it wasn't fun because any kid, you want to hit, you want to throw, this and that, but he just wanted to do drills and all this stuff. And I was like 7 years old. So I would come home and I was like, Mom, Dad's making me go to the park, do all this stupid stuff. I don't know what he's doing. I don't understand why he's making me go out there and do this. As I got older, I started understanding what it was all about with the drills and all that. And so when I got to the major leagues, it was like, I wouldn't say it was easy, but it was easy to adapt because my dad taught me all the drills. And I used to watch all the Cincinnati Red games of spring training. Grew up in Tampa, the Reds had spring training in Tampa. Go to a lot of games. They got to meet people as a kid. And my dad would tell me, when you're pitching, make your pitches, don't pay attention to the names on the back of the jersey. That's easier said than done. When you're facing a Pete Rose or Mike Smith or Joe Murphy, not to pay attention to the names on the back of the jersey. I just try to go out there and do the best I can. And Mets were kind enough to call my parents in my first start. And I remember after that game, I got the win. I went 5 innings against the Astros in Houston. My dad said, son, what do you think? I say, I should win a lot of games. My next start, 5 days later, I get knocked out in the 3rd inning in Chicago. My dad asked the same question, son, what do you think? I don't know if I'm ready. I went from winning a lot of games and I know I'm ready. So probably not into the All-Star break, I felt like I belonged. I made the All-Star team, had conversations with Nolan Ryan in the clubhouse, a lot of different things. That's when I really felt like I belonged. But first, say 8 or 9 starts, I wasn't sure yet. It was off and on. But that's when I felt like I was ready after the All-Star break.
Yeah, and I would say you were ready because you, like we said, you went on to win Rookie of the Year. You won a Cy Young, and then boom, it's the early '80s around here. The buzz was the New York Mets, Dwight Gooden, and those first few years for you were just otherworldly. And the team finally breaks through, right? It's 1986. You're anchoring that pitching staff, and the Mets win it all. So, so much has been right. I mean, that's just incredible. So much has been said about that '86 club too, Doc. The players and the personalities, but I guess it was a little chaotic when you look back on it. But that championship year, what stands out for you the most in 1986? You think?
For me, it was the personalities we had on the team, and for Frank Cash and Davey Johnson, our manager, Frank Cash and general manager. Bringing that team together, and for the players that we have on the team, like Benny Heat, Kevin Mitchell, Puffle, Lenny Dykstra, those guys could have been starters with other teams, but they all put the Eagles aside for one common goal because in '85 we came so close. We got knocked out by the Cardinals. We won 98 games. They had to go home. There's no wild card teams. None of that. It was just 2 divisions. So our whole mindset coming to spring training of '86 was not just to win, but to dominate and win the World Series. Everybody had the same goal, and maybe set the sample straight from day one. Because normally in spring training, you have the general manager talks, he introduces the manager introduces the sport pitch, his coaching staff, and the trainer. But David is the only voice in spring training to say, all right, guys, we're here. This is our year. Let's go out there and dominate. And everybody wants to do that. So I would say that spring training probably stuck out the most for everybody putting the egos aside, everybody coming together for one common goal. And obviously, most of us, our pitching staff, have more experience to do it, and we had the veterans leading by Ray Knight, Keith Hernandez, and Gary Carter lead the way. I just think it was just our time.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, obviously, besides getting the ring and winning that year, do you have a favorite memory? I mean, did Jesse Orosco's glove ever come down that night?
I think it's still up there. I think all of us still look at that glove. But my favorite memory, believe it or not, it wasn't playoffs. It wasn't Game 6 of the playoffs. It wasn't Game 6 of the World Series. It was clinching against the Cubs at home. I was on the mound. Chico Walker's the batter. I was trying to strike him out. He had a ground ball to Wally for the last out, and everybody's meeting the pitcher's mound. All the fans are running on the field. It was scary and fun at the same time. That's my fondest memory. Clinching in New York, because we came so close to the previous year, and to share that moment with the fans in New York, to me, that's the greatest moment I take from the '86 season.
Wow. And there was obviously a lot of those moments, especially as you guys went into the postseason. So listen, I have to get your perspective on this. One of the great moments in modern sports, I think, in New York especially. But it's Game 6. The Mets are down 3-2, and that it was a very bizarre World Series. I don't think a home team won, until Game 5 in Boston. But you guys are trailing the Sox. It's the 10th inning at Chase Stadium. And, you're just 3 defensive outs from losing that series. And, then obviously one of the more dramatic moments, it turns, in baseball history that night, with that 2-out rally and, of course, Bill Buckner. So I know that 86, that 86 team was never say die. We know that. But as that inning develops, take us, inside the dugout or wherever you were, the bullpen, set the scene for us, from possibly losing that series right there in Chase Stadium in front of those awesome fans to the wild pitch, Mookie's at bat, and then obviously, Bill Buckner.
Oh, yeah. So the thing about it, actually, the Game 5 you mentioned in Boston, that was my game. I got to show that game. I got to get that game. But, Game 6 was like, obviously, we had a team that had don't say die, never gonna say die, never give up. Never thought was out of any game. Honestly, some of us in the clubhouse. I was one of the guys in the clubhouse with 2 outs, nobody on base. I thought it was over. You're taught in Little League it's not over till it's over. I thought it was over. And Gary Carter, I didn't hear him say, but he told some guys that he wasn't gonna make the last out. He still had his catcher gear on. It was just a base hit after base hit. Obviously the wild pitch, and then Mookie's at bat. And unfortunately for Buckner, who had a great career, he's only remembered for that one play. And normally Mike Demare takes Buckner out the game for defensive replacement with Singleton or Stapleton, whatever his name. But he wanted to leave Buckner in, he said, so he can celebrate. And even on our home scoreboard, they had congratulations Red Sox for 1986 World Champions on our scoreboard in our stadium. And we're watching this, and I remember Kevin Mitchell been in the clubhouse with his jersey off. A bat boy had to run in the clubhouse and tell Kevin they weren't looking for him to pinch hit. Throws the jersey on, goes up there and gets a big pinch hit. And at that point, we thought, hey, we might have some here. And then, the wild pitch and the time run scores, and then Mookie's ground ball to Buckner. I mean, I thought there was no way. That was unbelievable. Like you say, to win that Game 6 the way we won it, we knew in Game 7, even though the next day got rained out, but we went to Game 7, we knew we had that game. It was just a matter of time. Even though we was down that game as well, but we just saw the looks on their face. They had no fight in them. They were just waiting for something bad to happen. It was waiting for something good to happen to take over, but that Game 6 will go down in history. Probably is one of the greatest comebacks ever, especially in World Series history.
Absolutely. And just the way it happened. I mean, listen, I was 6 years old. My parents let me stay up and watch it. So I can't imagine what that was like being a player on the field, right? I mean, that must have been just incredible. So after the aftermath of that game, do the players listen? I know the competitor in you love that happened, but do you feel bad for Bill? I mean, like you said, he went on to, he had a great career, and everybody remembers Bill Buckner from that moment. So how do you feel about, in terms of a player, when you look back? You had to feel bad for him then, no?
Oh, well, that night I didn't feel bad. I felt great that night. But getting to know Buckner, watching him spend all the time he did with Mookie with the commercials and seeing him at autograph signings, he's a great, great, great guy. He was a great guy. and had a great career. And you feel bad for a guy that he's only remembered because of that play when he had over 2,000 hits. He had a great career. And it wasn't his fault that they left him in the game. I blame the manager for that. Mike Murray only takes him out, but he wanted to leave him in the game. And for that to happen and for him to remember, you do feel bad for the guy. But had he Mookie still thinks if Buckner would have filled the ball, he would have beat it out. Right. I'm not sure if he would have beat that out or not. I don't know. I'm glad we never got to see that. It's always going to be debatable. But who would have thought that it would turn out the way it did? But sometimes, like you say, you play games and you just never know. It kind of reminds me a little bit. And the Giants beat the Buffalo Bills in I think it was the Super Bowl, 90, I think
91.
Yep. That game, I was walking out and got missed the field goal. Makes the field goal, it's over. And Norwood was only remembered for that kick. He had a great career. And the same thing with Buckner. Everything is about timing. Timing is everything. It just happened at a bad time, which was a good time for us.
Yeah, of course. And, like you said, you guys would go on to win the series in Game 7. You felt like they never had a chance. They must have been so deflated, after that. You guys were on, you were on such a high. But so Doc, they obviously, you win that series, and we know that you're not there to celebrate with your teammates, at the parade. You're somewhere else. Celebrating, I guess, your own way. But, this was really the first time we kind of learned about some of the off the field struggles of Doc Gooden. And it would obviously follow you a bit into the 87 season when you missed some time. But, I think that was really the first time when maybe the drugs and the alcohol kind of caught up to you, right?
Oh, 100%. My drinking started increasing more in 86. And I don't justify anything. I take total responsibility for everything. I think, I set the bar so high in 85, and then I remember 86, some games, I would pitch a shutout. I would beat Fernando 3-0, and the first question would be, what happened? You only had 5 strikeouts. And I would say all the publicly correct answers, but it started wearing on me a little bit. I started drinking more and more. The all season of 85, I was experimenting more with marijuana that turned into cocaine. And I was addicted right away, not knowing it. And throughout the season of 86, I was using off and on, never before a game, not to justify anything. But the night that I pitched, it was guaranteed I was going to use to celebrate, or I was going to use because I was pissed because I had lost the game. And it was getting worse and worse. That all season 86, when we won the World Series, I remember calling my dad, talking to my dad on the phone, we just won the World Series. Then, unfortunately, the next call went to drug dealer. And the day that should have been the biggest and the happiest day of my career, up until that point, turned out to be to the worst day of my career. Went to his drug dealer's house in the projects in Long Island. Around people that I didn't even know. We're talking about the game, watching the highlights over and over, doing drugs, kissing girls I don't know, looking at a mess. And then I'm thinking to myself, one more hour. Next thing you know, I'm watching the parade on TV. And that's when all the depression came in. I sobered up. And now you're like totally depressed because you're figuring out how did you get yourself in a situation? What am I going to say? I'm going to get out of this time. I remember going back to my apartment. I got like 30 messages on my phone. That was before the cell phones. Messaging, I had all these messages from my parents, from Strawberry, from the Mets GM, from the Mets PR guy, Jay Horace. And Daryl came over to my house after the parade. I went up, opened the door, just out of shame and guilt. And the team called me up and said, what's the deal? How can we help you? What's going on? I said, I had too much to drink. I almost slept. I felt bad. Still in denial. Everybody knew I had a drug problem besides me. My mom called me. I remember she said, son, you got to get help. You got to just, I'm basically like, well, my mom, there's nothing wrong. I just drink too much. That all season, I get into a scuffle with the Tampa police. They just escalated and started getting worse. Obviously go to spring training a year and, I test positive for cocaine and they told me, you can go to treatment, we'll pay your salary. If you don't go to treatment, we're going to pay you without your salary. So it was easy for me to say, okay, I'll go to treatment and get paid. I'm going to Smithers Institution in New York. Missed the first 2 months of the season. While I'm in there, I'm just counting the days down, still in denial, still saying, I'm only 21 years old. How can I go the rest of my life and not have a drink or, whatever? So I figured when I got out, I'll just drink and not do drugs, even though if I would have took time and learned what the program had to offer, I would have known that you can't drink and not go back to your drug of choice because alcohol is all a drug. It's all the same. But me, I was just marking down the days to 30 days was up and I got out of there. Obviously, got out of there, first road trip to St. Louis. I remember like it was yesterday, here drinking. I did well for 7 years. But I was drinking still, smoking pot still. It was just a matter of time before it caught up with me. And that's another suspicion came on in 94.
Yeah. And I think you ended up that 87 season with 15 wins. So, I mean, you
Yes.
definitely bounced back. And then I think 88, you had another dominant, year there. So, I mean, I think it was just a matter of, I mean, as we go into that time period and then into the early 90s, I think 1990 was your last real dominant year, I think. So obviously you would attribute it more to the drugs and let's say the injuries and things like that, right, Doc?
Yeah, it was both. It was a weird tear. I threw a lot of innings, but definitely drugs because it started changing my whole work ethic during the whole season. Started drinking heavily. I couldn't do the drugs, so I was drinking more. But I wasn't going to any meetings. I didn't have a sponsor. Didn't have a support group. I had none of that. So once '94 came around, I hurt my foot opening day in Chicago. That was the gateway. Tough Rose hit 3 home runs. I broke my toe. I got put on a disabled list, and I was rehabbing. I remember going to Double A to pitch, and I'm sorry, I went to Norfolk to pitch. And I noticed, I said, wow, nobody should have tested me down here in the minor leagues. When they saw I was in Binghamton, I went back to New York. I went to a strip club, relapsed, started getting high. It was just a matter of time. And the next day I went to the ballpark, was in Cincinnati. The guy was going to test me. And I was like, man, I can't give him a test. Then I was like, I screwed up. I got to face the music. Maybe they won't suspend me. Maybe they just, slap on the wrist or what have you. So I knew I was going to test positive. Like, gave him a test, tested dirty, get suspended again in '94. They sent me to Betty Ford Clinic. I seriously, but then they had the strike came in the end of '94. I was at Betty Ford. While I was at Betty Ford, I was trying to learn the program a little bit. I still didn't count in denial. I was still in my sick thinking. I was like, maybe I'll just drink and not do drugs. Let it go. Thinking the same cycle, knowing I was going to get the same results. Um, I get out of Betty Ford. I go back to New York. I meet with the baseball doctors. We talk, and one doctor said to me, he goes, just drink. Don't do nothing else. Even though I knew better, but by him saying that, that told me maybe I can just drink and not do nothing else. So I get on the plane to go home to Tampa. Start drinking heavy on the plane. I get off the plane. I don't see my family for 3 days. Started the whole cycle right back over again. And I remember after that happened, obviously they tested me down there. And it was kind of like I was reaching out for help. And I was pissing myself. I was very depressed. I remember putting a gun to my head. I just had to give it up, thinking I got no way out. I'll be better off gone. My family can stop suffering as much without me here. Which I was just justifying everything and totally in denial instead of trying to get strong. I said that's what I'll do. But I remember my mom and my wife coming in the room. Sorry, my mom and my wife coming in the room. My mom take the gun from me, started talking to me, and it's like, son, you can't go. You got kids, you got a wife, you got this and that. I just felt bad. And I said, you're right. And to make things worse, the very next day, I get the mail, and my wife gave me a letter, certified letter from Bud Selig. You're suspended for the entire '95 season. And I'm reading this letter, reading the letter over and over, hoping I missed something there. Read this letter. Then I'm like, wow, this is crazy. I said, well, that's what I'm going to do. I went out on another 3-day binge, just blasted. And I remember after that, by being in so much denial, when I came home, my wife said, what are you going to do? Trying to kill yourself? Are you weak? You giving up? You giving up on your kids? You giving up on us? Everybody, you don't care about yourself? And I think that's when my ego kind of came in a little play because I was like, I'm not a quitter. But then in my mind, I'm thinking, I can't quit drugs. There's no way to quit drugs. I don't know how to stop. Right. And my sickness, even though I'm hurting everybody, I'm justifying it by saying I'm only hurting myself. And seeing my mom crying, seeing my wife crying, seeing my kids, Dad, where you was, you missed my birthday party, you missed my game. So when I sobered up, I was self-medicating. I would go right back into the cycle. Then one day, this guy, Raymond Grown, I called this guy Raymond Grown, and to tell you how much denial I was in, I said, Ray, can you get me to Japan? This is how sick I was. I said, can you get me to Japan? He goes, what do you mean? So I want to go play in Japan. He said, okay, I'll get you in Japan. But first, I want you to get in shape. You got to get in shape first. I want you to start going to meetings. You got to get sober, and then I'll get to Japan. But Ray Negron will come to my house every day. It's 1995. Come to my house every day. They eat breakfast. We go to Eckerd College. We work out. There's a guy, Larry Mail, there, who used to be the assistant trainer for the Mets in the early 80s. Work out with him. Come home, I shower, I go to an NAA meeting with a guy, Ron Doc. After that, I eat lunch, I come home, I go pick my kids up from school. After about a month of that, start feeling good about myself again, start getting confidence again, start looking better. And I said, Ray, I don't want to go to Japan. And he goes, that's good because I was going to send you anyway. Okay, and I got my life back on track, for a little bit of time. And I started feeling good and doing the things I'm supposed to do and feeling good about myself and putting my family first. And even though the Mets want to cut ties, Mr. Simon gave me opportunities to continue my career in New York. I just went from there.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's really, truly remarkable, because you have this time period where clearly it's, rock bottom for you. I mean, between the mental health and the addiction and things, I mean, putting a gun to your head and really being in a low place. And then, like you said, you were able to kind of bounce back a bit. So now it's 1996. You're a free agent. The New York Yankees are bounced from that 95 postseason, but lots of changes happened for the Yanks that offseason, including the new manager, with Joe Torre. But you're a free agent, and the Yanks come knocking on your door. Talk about that. I remember there was a little controversy about it at first. They were taking a chance on you. You had some subpar years before that, and obviously some of the baggage, with the suspension and with the off the field struggles. But that didn't seem to matter to the Yanks, did it, Doc?
No, George Steinbrenner. I give George Steinbrenner all the credit, man. And I had met George a couple of times, and he knew my dad since 1978. Was it 78? Yeah, it was 1978. Gary Sheffield, my nephew, they looked like team with the Wayne Court World Series and won. But George flew the team up to New York. They'd been introduced before the game. That's when he met my dad. So I had to meet. Ray told me, he goes, the Ray McGrory worked with the Yankees. He goes, Steinbrenner want to meet with you. So I had thrown for the Marlins at the end of the season. Because Gary was there, got me a trout. So the mom was interested. Joyce called me over here, and he said, yeah, we talked. What you been doing this last year? Told him about the meetings, told him working out, getting back involved with kids, getting them off from school. So we just basically talked about family. We talked about recovery. They didn't mention anything about baseball. So I remember me and Ray, when we left that night, that meeting, I said, Ray, you lied to me. Joyce didn't want to sign me. He just wanted to see what I'm doing. He didn't want me. Ray said, just be patient. The next day, he said, look, let's go. I just want to meet you again. I met with George again. I took my dad with me, so we was talking on a contract. And then George said, look, I want to bring you in. We get a lot of heat from this, but one thing I want you to do, be yourself, take care of yourself, stay out of trouble, and just give it the best you can. That's all I care about. You as a person. I know you're a good person. I'm taking a big chance here. I'm taking a lot of heat in the papers, but I believe in you.
Wow.
That meant the world to me. I actually figured out, he told me that. And he said, I'm going to give you a chance. I can't give you 3 years, but I'm going to give you 2 years option. My dad said, we're not going to sign this to get 3 years. I said, no, Dad, we'll sign it. I'm signing it. I wanted to stay in New York, and I just wanted to make it right with the fans. I just said I wanted to make it right with the Mets fans, but that's when it cut ties. But this time we get an opportunity to stay in New York. And I remember signing with the Yankees, and the first day that in spring training, I'm in front of the mirror with the Yankee uniform on, the Yankee hat, just looking at myself with the Yankee uniform on, because as a Met, you grew up, you hate the Yankees, not literally, but you just, this other team on the side. I'm just trying to figure out, because I thought I was going to play my whole career with the Mets. Now, I started that season on 0-3. I remember after the third loss, we're at Yankee Stadium, and me and my wife were walking out, and George is walking towards us in the tunnel, and I said, I'm going to introduce you to the boss. She said, okay. And so when George got close, I said, hey, boss, how you doing? I'd like to meet my wife. He was like, well, you don't want me at an effing game.
Of course. That was George for you, right, Doc? That was George.
He said, the best guy, but, oh, man, he was emotional on his sleeve. And I said, well, that's George. Walked out. And then they benched me. So when a pitcher gets benched, I mean, you're not getting in the game if you're up 10 or you're down 10. They're trying to decide whether to send me down to the minors or release me. And unfortunately, David Cohn got an aneurysm in his arm.
Right.
And when he got the aneurysm, Torrey said he was going to put Ramiro Mendoza in the rotation. And only George Steinbrenner said, no, put Gooden back in the rotation. And he got back in the rotation. Thank God for Mel Stoudemire, because he continued to work with me because I had him my younger days with the Mets. And I think it was my 4th start back in. I pitched a no-hitter, then I ran off like 8 games in a row. But if David Cohn get that aneurysm, I don't get another shot. Who knows what would have happened from there? If Mr. Steinbrenner believing in me, first of all, signing me and getting an opportunity to sign with the Yankees, they have to start 0-3 until Torrey put me back in the rotation. So I can't thank Sir George enough for what he did for me, believing in me.
Yeah, and I definitely want to get into that no-hitter. I have some notes about it here to ask you about, but let's just kind of finish up here with George. Again, I mean, at this point, I'm 16. I'm a big Yankee fan, following the team, and we heard and we read all the feel-good stories with you and with George. I mean, did he save your life in a way? Like during that time, Doc? What do you think?
Oh, 100%, because I didn't have any offers out there. The Marlins showed some interest. The other one showed interest because of my nephew Gary was there, and Gary's the best player. The White Sox talked a little bit, but they made any offers. And without baseball, I had nothing else. I mean, ideally, you would like to think that you got your kids, you got your family, that should be enough. But baseball was all I knew. I played baseball every year from 7 years old on. I put baseball before everything. And it's sad to say, but I put baseball for my kid, everybody. That was my life. That's where I got my, bullet from. That's where I got everything from. That's where I got peace from. And had I not signed with the Yankees and my career would have been over, I don't know if I'd be having this conversation, to be honest with you. I really don't. I'm just being honest because I wasn't in a good place. I mean, initially I had to use getting back into baseball as a thing to help jumpstart me to get sober and to get clean because if I wouldn't have baseball and looking at my track record, I'd be like, well, I'm suspended. I got nothing else to fall on. What am I going to do? But by having George there in my corner, I would say he definitely saved my life. Played a big part. And along with my wife, my parents, and my kids, they played a part too. But I think George played the biggest part. Like, give me an opportunity to continue my career in New York.
Great. Outstanding. Excellent. All right. So let's take a quick break to hear from the people who make the Mission Z podcast possible. Sponsors for the Mission Z podcast are Long Island Prevention and Resilience Enrichment Program. Working directly with schools, Long Island Prep has created a 3 pillars of action plan to provide drug abuse prevention education for kids in schools, community awareness and professional development for educators, parents, and professionals in our communities, and new early identification and intervention technology for crisis intervention teams in schools and parents at home. Learn more about Long Island Prep and the 3 pillars of action by visiting our website, www.longislandprep.org, and of course, our Prep Academy for educator professional development and parent workshops. Our new digital courses delve into the ongoing issues our kids are facing today. Teachers can earn credits, or parents can simply take a course to learn how to tackle these issues head on and help their kids along the way. Learn more by going to www.theprepacademy.org today. Pioneer Sports, who wants you to stop doing it yourself. They help schools, camps, and municipalities start, run, and grow a successful sports program. You can check them out at playpioneersports.com. And today's podcast is also brought to you by DDS for Vets, who is bridging the gap that veterans face with services that they are entitled to. Just go to ddsforvets.org for more information. And don't forget to check out our Night of Inspiration at Mulcahy's Pub and Concert Hall on May 23rd this year. It's going to be a very special night with dinner, entertainment, and some really great guest speakers and honorees. You can go to longislandprep.org for more information and tickets for this amazing event. We have a great night planned to celebrate Mental Health Awareness Month on May 23rd. And we're here with Doc Gooden going through some of the years of his career and, when he was one of the elite pitchers in the game, Doc. So let's go through that night. It's May 14th, 1996. You're on the Yankees. You're on the hill for the Yankees, facing a lineup that, Alex Rodriguez, Ken Griffey Jr., Edgar Martinez, Jay Buhner. I mean, 3 or 4 of the best hitters in the game at that time. And you go out there and you throw that first no-hitter for the Yankees, I think since Don Larson had to be, right, in the 56 series. So after all the struggles, you accomplished this at Yankee Stadium. I remember, you on your teammates' shoulders, pumping your fist. Just a magical moment for you that night, Doc. So take us through that game. I mean, what was your approach to go through the middle of that lineup? And, did you ever think that final out was going to land in Jeter's glove?
Oh, man, I tell you, that night was meant to be. That was definitely high powering and why I said that because my dad, as I mentioned you guys, my dad taught me the game of baseball. My dad was my hero. We used to have father-son nights on Fridays about to eat, just me and my dad. And my dad had been struggling with his health. He had been on dialysis for 15 years. His health was deteriorating. And the day that I threw the no-hitter, I was supposed to fly home to be with him. He was going to have open heart surgery the next day. And the doctors had said if he don't have the surgery, he won't last a week. And because of his health, even if he had the surgery, it's no guarantees that he'll get through it. So I had my flight to go home. That morning I woke up, I just said, you know what? My dad would probably want me to pitch. So I remember a conversation I had with my dad where he said, you always put work first. You always take care of your responsibilities first. Family will be there. And that's all I can remember in my voice. So I called Joe Torre, who was the manager. I said, I'm coming in today to pitch. He goes, no, you got to be crazy. Go home, be with your dad. Take as much time you need with your dad. When you're ready, you come back. I said, no, I'll see you. I'm coming in to pitch. Next call it to my mom. And I said, Mom, I'm not coming home. She goes, you got to be out of your mind. You have to come home. All the family's going to be here. Your dad needs your support. There's no question about it. You have to be here. I don't want to hear nothing else. I'll pick you up from the airport. I said, Mom, I'm not coming. She said, son, you have to come. And I hung up on my mom because she was making me feel bad and feel guilty. And after I hung up with my mom, I mean, this was like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. It was a night game. And I'm thinking, man, am I making the right decision? Am I going to see my father again? Should I go home? What should I do? And I just kept hearing his voice, pitch, son, pitch, son. You should pitch, son. And now I'm getting chills because like living that moment all over again.
Wow.
And I remember going to the ballpark, and Mel Sarmar came in and he goes, Doc, you sure this is what you want to do? I said, Mel, this is something I have to do. I have to pitch this game. I think my dad want me to pitch. I'm okay. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm going to pitch. In the first rounds of the game, Joe Girard is my catcher, and whatever sign he put down, I just went with it. And between innings, I was standing in the runway between the clubhouse and the dugout. Sometimes turning up, just thinking about my dad. Is he going to be okay? Am I making the right decision? Not until like the sixth inning, I look up at the scoreboard to see who Seattle had coming up the following inning, and you see no runs, no hits, no errands. The heart starts beating a little faster. The anxiety kicks in. I'm like, man, this can't be. Because at the time, like you mentioned, Seattle had one of the best teams in baseball. And my year had been kind of, up and up. And
Up and down.
Right. Yes. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So I did put my dad situation aside and just concentrate on the game. And I remember, so in the last inning, I walked two guys, and the score is 2-0. So Mel Starbuck came up to the mound. He goes, Doc, how you feel? I said, doesn't matter. I'm not coming out. He goes, all right, it's your game. And I was done. I mean, like the seventh inning, I was gassed. Any other day, I would have been out of that game. I was gassed. Like, you come back forward, you got to go for it. Paul Sorrento's up, and I had nothing. The last pitch I put him was a hanging curveball to fit on the tee. 9 out of 10 times, he hits that ball up and back out of the stadium, I'm sure. And he popped it up. When he popped it up, my hands were up in the air. It's like the ball's up in the air forever. Like, I've never seen it. I'm jumping up and down, and Wade Boggs is going back, and Jeter's going back. And I'm like, let Jeter have it, let Jeter have it. And Jeter catches it. I mean, it was like I was off the ground. I mean, it was crazy. I was jumping up, going crazy. Yeah. I remember my mom later on told me, I never seen you. I like that. I said, Mom, I've never pitched my hitter before. And like you mentioned, when my teammates had carried me off the field, I'm pumping my fist to the fans are yelling. I mean, it was like a surreal moment because all I can think about is the previous year I'm suspended from baseball. I remember having the gun to my head. My mom coming in, snatching the gun. Is my dad gonna be okay? I remember being, bent to not knowing if I was gonna get released or another chance or not. Here I am now pitching a no-hitter at Yankee Stadium where all the Graces played. All those things just running through my mind as I'm popping my fist. After the game's over, we get a ball from the game, get a flight home the next day. I don't sleep the whole night, obviously. I was taking a ball to the hospital. I get to the hospital. Doctor's there. He said, your dad's on the game. We teared up afterwards. And he said, but now, unfortunately, he had the surgery, but he's on life support. So I saw my dad, the ball by him, and I'm hugging him, kissing him, I love him. He never made it home. He ended up passing away, but the last game he saw me pitch was at no hitter. And that's what made it that much special.
Wow, that's unbelievable. And I mean, you're obviously holding these feelings inside while you're pitching that game, and you were able to kind of come through, and he was able to I mean, he knew that you threw the no-hitter, and obviously that was a special moment that you were able to share with your dad. I mean, that's just an incredible part of that story, Doc.
Oh, most definitely. He saw that, and that was like a going-away gift for him because he had been there the whole time and made a lot of sacrifices for the family, and obviously I don't make it to the majors without him getting me to that point and supporting me. And the only no-hitter, which you thought if I was going to pitch a no-hitter, it happened with the Mets, not at that time. Before it happened that night, I always say, there is a God. I definitely believe that. And for it to happen that night, it was just meant to be 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? This kind of does play into, what I was kind of saying before with the mental aspect, right, of being a professional athlete. So I kind of wanted to ask you this and get your take on it because I do think it's relevant, but you have to have the mental capacity to stand on the mound in Yankee Stadium with all that on your mind and all of that in your heart going on with your dad and stuff, and you were still able to pitch through that lineup with some of the fiercest hitters in the game. And a mistake here, a bad pitch there, and the no-hitter's gone, right? But I know you know this, but there, excuse me, there's so much about addiction that is mental, right? So why do you think, the mental feat of a no-hitter at Yankee Stadium with all those things on your mind, still able to do it, that's doable. But, the mental part of addiction is so hard to overcome for some people. I know you've experienced both, but is that a fair comparison? And how do you feel about that?
It's fair. That's a good point. Because to your point, it's like what I was going through from a mental standpoint, thinking about my dad on my mind and going through. That's part of me. Kind of, I had to accept that addiction is a disease, which it took a long time for me to believe that. Being an athlete, most athletes, and especially myself, we have egos where we're like, I can get through anything. I don't need any help. I can fix this. Like if my curveball wasn't working, I knew the adjustments I had to make to get me right. If I couldn't get the balls down in the zone, I knew how to make the adjustment to get that right. With addiction or mental health, you can't do it alone. And I've been beat down so many times, and I had to learn that. And the difference was pitching that game with my dad heavily on my mind most of that game. I was able to say it's for my dad. Let me just get through this. This is for my dad. When the addiction part, I had to understand this is for me. Like I could jump start and say it's for my kids. It's because of baseball. It didn't take me to a certain point. Then I had to put myself first. If I don't put myself first, everything I put before me, I'm going to lose anyways because I have to understand and put addiction first. And prime example for me, 2019 was my last run-in with the law. I've been sober ever since by the grace of God. But I remember crying, going to a drug dealer's house, crying to go get the drugs, knowing I don't want to do it. But something in the back of my brain was wired. It's taking me to that drug house. And I'm crying while I'm going there to get it. I wipe my face off to get the drugs. And that night I get arrested. So that was like a cry for help because like something's going to happen. And when that happened, I had to put my ego aside, put my manhood aside. Don't worry about embarrassment, guilt, and shame. Don't worry about my kids getting picked on in school, what my grandkids will have to live with. When they said, do you want to go to rehab or we can lock you up for 30 days? I said, I don't want neither. So you got to pick one. I said, no, I'm going to get mental health. So what do you mean? You're not crazy. I said, no. It ain't about being crazy. Your guys' turns. My turns is something mentally wrong because I'm crying to go to get drugs. I don't want to get it, but I'm still going there. Can I please go to a mental institution? So I researched. I'm going to a high-focus mental institution in Morristown, New Jersey. Went there for 6 months, and that's when I found myself. I had to dig deep. My parents, and even my sister said, son, you don't have to go there. You're not crazy. You're all right. Just stay away from it. It wasn't that easy. I mean, because I was like 87, first grade, then 94, then off and on. And I was tired. I was tired of it. And the disease addiction I had was telling me that I didn't have a disease, that I don't have a problem. It would tell me that, which I knew someone, right? I went there, I had to say, and then even when I was there, certain times I would say, man, I don't belong here. These people are crazy. And I had to think about my record says, no, you're in the right place. You do belong here. And I accepted I'm right where I need to be. That's when I got better. Not that I take anything for granted today. I'm never going to be cured from it. I understand that. But at the same time, I can turn my message into messages and share my messages, and that makes me feel better. And have somebody, which I do have, my therapist, sister, support group that I can talk to, tell them how I'm feeling. They're not going to judge me. Sometimes I get some sick thinking, and I think that nobody can understand. They do understand. Somebody that's been through it can relate to me. And I have to do that the rest of my life. And I'm okay with that today. But before, I would go, a year or two and say, okay, I got it now. But I'm so tired of that life. And I can't understand it. I'm okay. And I've accepted that. I'm not afraid to talk about it when I talk about mental health and addiction. Just to help those along the way that may be struggling with stuff. So kind of like where I'm at today.
Absolutely. And obviously it's been a long journey for you, Doc. And to see you on here today healthy, talking about it, obviously that's such a and look, it's a milestone and an accomplishment, but like you're saying, you did it for yourself. Finally, you kind of put yourself in front of everything else and look, it's been 5 years and you're clean, so
that's what it's all about. And I take every day as a miracle. I don't take anything for granted. I'm happy today. I'm healthy today. I get to FaceTime with my grandkids. And it's so much joy. It's like the little things that for granted, the big things now. Going to the park with my grandkids. Because like my kids, I miss most of their stuff either through my addiction or I was playing, so I miss their school activities and things like that. I have a son at the University of Maryland out playing football. I have a daughter in Maryland, so I'm more involved. I'm accountable today where before I would call my kids, I'm picking guys up from the bus stop. I get to the bus stop, they're gone because many times I've lied to them or had intention to make it. Now I'm not telling them something, they're waiting. We're having just a good time. And now I can just be myself. Every day I can be myself. I can be honest with myself and tell people exactly how I feel. It's okay. I don't have to worry about people, trying to like me, not like me, trying to praise me. Today I don't have to worry about that. It's okay for me just being myself.
Love it, Doc. And we're obviously so glad that you're still with us. You've given all of us, New York sports fans, so many great memories. So just a couple of quick hits here. But before we let you go, your favorite memory as a Yankee after the no hitter. Give me some insight about those late '90s teams that were just incredible.
Well, yeah, I would say winning the World Series in '96. Because we were down the first two games, and I remember getting on the bus to go to Atlanta. We was playing the Braves, and Dwight Smith came there. He goes, "You guys shouldn't bother coming to Atlanta. It's over with. We're coming back to win." And Jim Larry hit the big home run in Game 3, changed the World Series. In my first year with the Yankees, I had the no hitter, then win the World Series, and my third son was born that year. So obviously, I gave you more than one. That was my '96 season.
No, that's fantastic, awesome. So 1996 really was a banner year for you.
Yes, sir. That was a great year. I can say only me and Don, the only two players that ever win the World Series with both New York teams.
So yes. So you bring up Darryl Strawberry. I'm really glad you did because I read a quote. I think it was on Facebook today or one of the social media platforms there, and it said Darryl said that had you guys hadn't partied so much, maybe the Mets in the late '80s might have won some more. So two things: is that true? You think? And what's your relationship with Darryl these days? I know you guys obviously came up together and you had some ups and downs, but kind of talk about that for a minute if you can.
Yeah. So first, we talk all the time. Do we leave some titles on the table? It's hard to see. I think we left one. I think in '88 we probably should have won it. Right. We had a chance, unfortunately. That game I got for the home run to Mike Sosa kind of changed the series. I think '88 we had a better team than '86. But '86 we had more heart, we had more wisdom, we had the no quit attitude. Was mentally tough in '86. And the thing is, not always the best team win, the hottest team wins. And God just got hot in the playoffs that year. The year Hershiser had, Kirk Gibson turned up a notch. Then they went to Oakland. So it's hard to say, really. I think if we'd have had the wild card like they have now, I think we could have won more because our pitching staff, had we got in, I think we would have won more. So I'll probably say we lost one on the table in '88. My relationship with Darryl is great today. We're like brothers. Sometimes we want to kill each other. Some days we love each other. Today we love each other. We're probably closer. I think I'm closer to Darryl than my own brothers.
Wow.
I say we came up together. Obviously, we had some different times. I've seen a lot of times when we had problems with each other. We went to the media with it when we should have called each other or sat down and talked about it. We let mutual friends get in between us, mess things up. But now we're men. We don't have alcohol. We're not having a punk over a drink now, just face to face. We had a good punk today as well. And I love it, man. I'll never forget my mom was sick. He actually drove down. We was in Orlando. He drove maybe an hour and a half to spend time with my mom, to pray with my mom, and just spend the whole day with my mom. Wow. Those are the things that means the most to me that I'll never forget. It shows me what kind of guy he is. And his family is my family. So I appreciate Darryl and I love him.
I love that because it would bother me to hear again in those early years or let's say right after that maybe you guys weren't always so close, but to hear that you guys have kind of patched it up and on the right track here is really really awesome to hear.
That's right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, he's a good man. I love Darryl, man. He means
awesome. Yeah. Awesome. So do you have a favorite teammate, Doc, or manager? I mean, your presence, who's had the most positive impact on you? I mean, besides George Steinbrenner, but on the field, do you think?
Yeah, Davey's my favorite manager. I might be a little biased because I signed in '82. Davey was a roving instructor. And he seen me throw when I was in Kingsport, Tennessee, around high school. And I was throwing in the bullpen. He challenged me. He go, let me see you do this. Let me see you do that. Everything he told me to do, that day I was doing it. The next year, 1983, he was a manager in AAA. I was in A-ball. After my A-ball season, I got called to AAA. And I'm pitching well for Davey. I win a big game for him in the playoff. I win the championship game in the World Series for him. And he says, whenever he managed the following year, I'm going to be on his team. And George Bangberger resigned. Davey got named manager. And I remember it was an instruction. I said, Davey, remember what you told me? He goes, oh, yeah, you're coming to camp. Don't worry about it. I got invited to camp as a non-roster player. And I'm throwing a lot of B games. And after every game, the media would come to my locker and talk to me and say, well, the office said you're probably going to double A or triple A because of your age. And then me, like a little kid, I run in Davey's office. I said, Davey, double A, triple A. Davey would say, let him talk, don't worry about it. You're going to make it. Don't worry. Right. Last game of the spring training, we're leaving that night to go to Cincinnati to start the season. And Davey comes up and goes, congratulations, you made the team. Wow. So by far, Davey's my favorite manager. Not only because of that, but that's a big reason. Davey was also like what you call a player's manager, where he's still back in the plane, play cards with us, on the road, he go out to eat with us, have drinks with us, and all that. With most managers, sit in front of the plane, you only go out with the coaches, right, and stuff like that. But Davey was one of us. So David was my favorite manager. Favorite teammate was obviously Darryl Strawberry. Coming up, he basically showed me the ropes. Our first 4 years, we used to ride to the park together, for games. So here's a guy, and David Combs a close second.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. So, all right. So you competed on both New York teams when they were winning championships. Now, listen, the money's on the line. Which one of those teams are you taking in the best of seven? Don't be careful here. Tell us the truth. The, 88, 86 Mets, the 98 Yankees. Who are you taking in the best of seven?
Oh, man. I got to go with 86 Mets.
Oh, wow.
86 Mets. Just because on paper, the 98 Yankees look better. But the game's played on the field. It's like the hottest team. And it's like the bigger the game, they brought the best in us. We will find a way to win. Game 6 in the playoffs proved that. Game 6 in the World Series proved that. I'm not taking nothing away from the 98 Yankees, but I'll put the 86 team against anybody.
Wow. Unbelievable. That's great. And I mean, that 98 team would win 114 games or whatever. But I mean, unbelievable. All right, cool. So, I know part of your recovery, Doc, for for addiction and things like that is helping other people. And I see a lot of your posts, on social media. You're doing a lot with kids these days. So talk to us about some of what you're actually doing out there, as Doc Gooden, the retired grandfather now,
Yeah, I am. Yeah, so most of the time I try to watch I got 2 grandkids in Tampa that play sports. Spend a lot of time watching them. I have a son, my youngest son is a freshman at the University of Maryland playing football. So I'm not there a lot watching him as well. With kids, I speak at schools now, mainly high schools, colleges, and basically just telling my story. Like I said, I'll talk baseball to kind of get their attention. And I'll switch it to addiction. I'll talk about recovery. I'll talk about mental health. I just share my experience what I went through to let people know addiction doesn't discriminate. Mental health doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter you're white, black, rich, poor, it doesn't matter. And talk to them about having somebody to talk to because I had someone I could talk to, but I let my ego get in the way. I started to be cool, thinking, it's all right if I do this. And I grew up in a household where men don't cry, men don't hug, men don't talk problems. And I knew my dad loved me, but I think that's the way he was raised in his household, being from this deep, deep South. That's just the way it was. So I had to break that cycle and learn that all over again. It's okay to cry. It's okay to tell another man you love him. And find someone you trust. I tell kids all the time, whether it's your parent, your sister, brother, school teacher, coach, whatever, someone you trust that you can share when someone's not feeling comfortable. Because you don't want to get to that point where you're drinking and doing something else and it becomes addiction because you don't know if you're going to get addicted. Because I got addicted the first time I tried cocaine. I was addicted right away, not doing it. So just being comfortable in your own skin. Hang around people that have some of the same passions that you have. And I just tell the kids straight. Today, I'm not afraid or ashamed to share my story. But in the past, I'd be a little ashamed, a little guilty about it. But today, I'm okay to share it because I'm not living that life anymore.
That's great. Awesome. So as you look back too, I mean, you obviously came out of the gate there, like we said, otherworldly, and it's obviously been a long time. So as you reflect back, I mean, any of the demons come back and like, how do you kind of negotiate with yourself, of what could have been, I mean, there's obviously a lot of time now that's separated 30 some odd years, since those late 80s teams, let's say. But so, I mean, you're obviously in a better place today, but when they come back, how do you kind of negotiate with yourself? Hey, look, this is what could have been, but this is what it is now,
It's like a lot of times I've been taught where you have your conscious and you have your self-conscious. The self-conscious is what's real. The conscious is the demons coming at you. So one of the things that helped me and kept me sick for a long time is missing the 86 parade. That parade saved me a long time. Missing my kids' birthdays, that saved me a long time. I used to beat myself up over that a long time. It still creeps back in. Or like when we're talking about it or when the World Series comes around, it creeps back up. Having other people tell me I should have been in the Hall of Fame. Those days come in. So I try to tell myself, okay, I didn't make the 86 parade. I can't redo that. I can't continue to beat myself up. Fans forgave me. God forgive me. How come I can't forgive myself? And when that stays with me a little bit, I kind of play it a little bit and I move on. But if it's staying with me too much, I'll call somebody and let them know, man, I'm having the demons are back on me. And we'll just talk about it a little bit and talk through it. When my daughters, they forgive me about missing their birthday parties. I'm not even sure if they remember it. I always remind them that, yes, I did miss a party. Mm-hmm. I think about that sometimes. I say, I can't redo that. I think about, okay, I missed those 2 parties, but my 2 daughters, they're in their 30s now. I've been for them every day of their life, but besides those 2 days. I've only been a bad father for 2 days and been great for 30-some years. That's not a bad ratio. So I have to forgive myself. Not saying it's an easy thing, but I have to look at things that way and I'll talk that.
Right.
So that helps a lot. And then I think about like the Hall of Fame when people bring it up, and then every July I go down for the induction that weekend, some autographs. It crossed my mind, like, man, I wonder, but that's somebody else's opinion because when I was a kid, my only dream was to make it to the major leagues, be successful, and have a long career. I was able to win just about every award a pitch can win. I won 3 World Series. In other words, I met a lot of good friends along the way.
Right.
I got to do things for my family that I wouldn't have been able to do. So I can't worry about that because, I'm in the Mets Hall of Fame. I'm getting my number retired. I'm in the Negro League Museum Hall of Fame. I mean, come on, I can't be greedy about this. And most importantly, I still have my life. That's the most important. I still have my life when people have lost their life done a lot less than I've done. I'm still here today. I have to value that. I have to value what I've had, what I've accomplished, instead of things that didn't happen because of what someone else said I should have.
That's so true, and again, it's so great to hear you, kind of put it that way because it really is, a change for you. But look, I mean, you mentioned that 2010 you're inducted into the Mets Hall of Fame, and you're about to receive another honor from them this year on April 14th. They'll be pinning the number 16 up on the wall, never to be worn by a New York Met again. I'm sure. This is a tremendous honor for you, Doc. Congratulations. So tell us about what this means for you. I mean, after all that's gone on and, this town still loves Dwight Gooden.
Oh, man, it means a great deal. I look at it as a celebration. And Steve Cohen called me, actually told me they're going to return nobody. First thing I thought was a great call because what I did on the field, I figured I had a shot. My off the field stuff, I was thinking, maybe I don't have a shot. And when I knew it was him, I kind of teared up at first on it because, like you mentioned, I didn't think it was going to happen. And then my first call, you want to make it to my dad, but my dad's not here. That's okay. I think I'm going to tell Steve, thank you very much, and his wife Alex, and the board who voted for me. Then I thought about my kids. I shared it with my kids and some of my grandkids who are old enough to understand. Then I just kind of sat back and just kind of reminisced on everything, everywhere I've been, off the field and on the field, just kind of sucked it all in. It's happening. I look at that as a celebration. I look at it as a celebration of my career and my life, and with the fans who've been with me from day one, has always stuck with me, prepared me. Because I remember keep going back to 2019, but in 2019, when I didn't trust myself to even go outside when it happened, I had fans, on Twitter, Instagram, through text mail, email, and my family, Strawberry come to visit me. They tell me they still love me. They're gonna be there for me. So they built me back up when I love myself. I got back to the place where I needed to be. So that day is a celebration for all of us who've been with me through the ups and downs. That's what I think.
That's awesome. All right, Doc. Last one for me. This has been such a great conversation with one of the icons, of New York sports. We're so grateful for your time here on the Mission Z podcast. Thank you so much. All right, so there's an 18-year-old kid. He's about to enter the deep end of the pool, get drafted by the major leagues. Maybe he's got Doc Gooden's fastball. Maybe he's, going to hit 500, 600 home runs. Who knows? But he's on the cusp of that great career. So as you reflect back on this time for you, what you had in front of you at the same point as a young phenom, what is your best advice to this kid? What would you stress the most if you had this conversation with him?
I would say the main thing is be proud of your accomplishments. You got to that point, but understand what you're getting ready to enter is a privilege. And what I mean by that is somebody paid the way for you to get to that point, whether it's your parents, take you to practice, umpires off your game, coaches coaching you. Look at it that way, and by doing that, when you honor that, is respecting yourself, respecting the game. I understand you're going to come across people sometimes that may not have your best interest. Be your own judge. Have someone you can talk to about anything, someone you trust who's not going to judge you, won't tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And number one is remember how you got to this point and keep grinding and always respect yourself first and put yourself first.
Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. Doc Gooden, thank you again for your time today. What a pleasure it's been having you on the Mission Z podcast, sir. We wish you all the best. We'll definitely talk to you soon, all right? Thank you so much, Doc.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Keep my number. You're a good man, and keep up the good work. Thanks for having me.
You got it, Doc. My pleasure. Thank you again. All right, absolutely. Today's podcast is brought to you by DDS for Vets, who's bridging the gap that veterans face with services they are entitled to. Just go to ddsforvets.org for more information. And don't forget to visit longislandprep.org for tickets to our Night of Inspiration on May 23rd at Mulcahy's Pub and Concert Hall. And, of course, go to the missionz.com website, smash that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot, everyone. Sponsors for the Mission Z podcast are Long Island Prevention and Resilience Enrichment Program. Working directly with schools, Long Island Prep has created a 3 pillars of action plan to provide drug abuse prevention education for kids in schools, community awareness and professional development for educators, parents, and professionals in our communities, and new early identification and intervention technology for crisis intervention teams in schools and parents at home. Learn more about Long Island Prep and the 3 pillars of action by visiting our website, www.longislandprep.org, and of course, our Prep Academy for educator professional development and parent workshops. Our new digital courses delve into the ongoing issues our kids are facing today. Teachers can earn credits, or parents can simply take a course to learn how to tackle these issues head-on and help their kids along the way. Learn more by going to www.theprepacademy.org today. Pioneer Sports, who wants you to stop doing it yourself. They help schools, camps, and municipalities start, run, and grow a successful sports program. You can check them out at playpioneersports.com.